Today I'll be talking about insight that I've heard from Joseph Goldstein about meditation. But we've been working and reviewing the four foundations of mindfulness. And I thought before I do that, I just want to take a quick review. And then when I go into what Joseph Goldstein had to say about meditation and mindfulness, we could meld the two together. They don't disagree with each other, they're complementary. But the four foundations are about four foundations of mindfulness, places that we contemplate. And one of them is the body. And it helps in two ways. One, our body can be like a warning signal. When we have a tight chest, we feel uncomfortable, we'll feel it in our body. Something goes wrong. We may breathe heavily. But if we notice what's going on in our body, it can be a wake-up call. It can be a bell that reminds us to do something. Two, if we focus on the body and are always aware of present moment experience in the body, that will decrease the chances of us ruminating, thinking, and getting depressed. Staying focused on the body is a way of getting grounded so that we don't get disturbed. We don't let our mind run away with us. The second pasture to contemplate, the second foundation of mindfulness, would be feelings. But in this sense, from the Buddhist texts, the feelings are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So when you say feelings, it's one of two things. It's either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Actually, one of three things. The mind, when we pay attention to the mind, we will notice there could be hatred and anger in our mind, or there could be desire and craving in our mind, or delusion. But being aware of what's going on in our mind is knowing about our mental state, what's going on. And the Dhammas are processes. The Dhammas are Buddhist psychology's explanation of what winds up going on in our mind. What hindrances there are, what things come up in our mind of sloth and torpor, or greed, or desire, or craving. So what's going on in our mind, and the order that things happen in our mind, what's the process that goes on? There are also the 7 factors of awakening. What things can we do to stay focused, stay in the present mind, and understand what's going on? And this actually is what we did in last week's talk. The other thing is the Four Noble Truths. And that is the step-by-step process of us going through the Eightfold Path, the 8 things we do in order to overcome the hindrances that we face in life. The Satipatthana Sutta not only tells us where we should be looking, but how we should look. We need to be diligent and ardent when we're focusing on these 4 foundations. We need to be mindful about what's going on and clearly understanding what we're doing. And we need to notice our state of mind. Are we free from desire and discontent? Are we hatred and anger? Are we desirous? But we need to understand. And let me go ahead, and in the handouts are some of the things I've spoken. I'll just pass by the pages and you can read them. That's essentially what I've said. And what I'd like to do next is give a summary of what I heard Joseph Goldstein talk about. What is meditation? And actually, one step before that, there really can be two benefits of meditating. One is a sense of relaxation, peace, and calm. The second can be gaining insight into what we're doing and why we're doing it. And for today's discussion, we'll be spending a little bit more time of what insight meditation is, how to do insight meditation. But when we go and do a guided meditation, I'm going to start out, and the first 10 or 15 minutes will just be meditation you could do for relaxation and calming the body. Now, what I found interesting was Joseph Goldstein described meditation as a three-step process, or insight meditation as a three-step process. The first step in that process is mindfulness, being aware of what's going on in your present moment experience. You know, what's happening right now? What do I notice? You know, is my chest tight? Am I hearing things? Am I seeing things? What are we noticing? What are we experiencing in the present moment? The second step of that is, how do we relate to that experience? I hear a sound, I have a thought, I see an emotion. How do we relate to those things going on? How do we react to them? And the third stage of meditation practice is to gaining insight and wisdom into what we're doing. And when he described this, it reminded me of an experience I had 10 or 15 years ago meditating. And I went through this whole process, and I want to talk about what happened, what I was being aware of, how I was relating to that experience, and that the wisdom that I got, or insight that I got from it. I was on a retreat where we were supposed to, it was a silent retreat, and we were supposed to sit for an hour without moving and focus on our breath. Unfortunately, when I was meditating, my nose started itching, and it really itched me. It was itching, and it was annoying. And I noticed this feeling in my nose. My nose was itching. And I had an unpleasant feeling, or I had some thoughts. I was thinking, why should I not scratch my nose? How is it going to hurt if I don't scratch my nose? I should be able to scratch my nose. That meditation instructor's not helpful to me. I got angry at the meditation instructor. But I was aware of an itching sensation in my nose. And when we link it back to the Satipatthana, it's what was going on in my body. It was just the sensation of my nose vibrating, of itching. I felt unpleasant. I was angry that I couldn't scratch it. I wanted to scratch it, but I wasn't supposed to, and I was mad at the teacher. So I had feelings of negative. My thoughts were, it's not fair. Why is it doing it to me? And that's watching what's going on in my mind. That's one of the pastures. And the emotions I had was anger. So the situation, the experience was itching in my nose. That's the first part, being mindful of that. How was I relating to it was the second part that Joseph brought out. And I was objecting to it. I was exaggerating. My nose, it's itching. I have to do something. Exaggerating, I dramatized it. I catastrophized it. And it made me feel worse. And then I had the insight, I'm upset about my nose itching. It's no big deal. So, and I actually began to laugh at myself for being upset about my nose itching. And I was just able to focus on it again. I laughed at myself. I became relaxed. And I noticed eventually the itchy nose went away. It's impermanent. And it's true about all problems. They're all impermanent. And what I noticed is, what I learned from that, I got some insight or some wisdom, is that often the way I react to things can make it worse. I can exaggerate, catastrophize, make things worse. But also, if I can look at things with humor, laugh at the fact that I'm upset about what's going on in my nose, sometimes that helps. When I can say, well, what constructive can I do about this situation instead of being angry about it? I relate to the problems differently. What can I learn from this situation instead of why asking questions? How can I improve the situation if I can focus on that instead of saying why it isn't unfair? So how you relate to it gives you some insight, and there are different ways to handle things. And a lot of the problems come out by the way that we wind up relating to them. And I felt this was true about many things. After I had this insight, when I've come to a red light and I get upset about it, no matter how upset I get about it, the light isn't going to change. And over again, I notice this tendency of things that I don't particularly want happen. I relate to them by getting angry. Getting angry doesn't help me. And if I can just be aware that I've gotten angry and let go of that anger and just focus on anything constructive I can do, I wound up feeling a lot better. Now, let me go ahead and all the things that I've said, I'll show the slides. Okay, and just to summarize, what I thought was a key point out of that is the wisdom of meditation is to realize things go wrong, a series of processes go on, a feeling tone, a thought, agitation, hatred, or anger, or desire, and that all of that is going on in my mind. And I should be, it would be helpful if I'm in charge of my mind. And when I get upset, it would be nice if the outward situation changed, but often we don't have control over it. But the only thing I do have control over is my mind and how I relate to it. And as I got more and more mental discipline, I was able to get aware of when I was about to be hijacked with thoughts and emotions, and better ability to focus back on the present moment. And what I'd like to do next is take you through a guided meditation, and it will be two parts. The first part will help you relax, focus, and concentrate. And it's what I've been doing most of the time until fairly recent, over the last year or so. The second part will be guiding you through a meditation, but focusing on how you can relate. And essentially, the only difference is if you want to just relax and focus, be calm, whenever you have a thought, just be aware of it's a thought. Don't try and follow it. Don't be hijacked by it. And refocus your energy back on the point of focus. You keep doing this over and over again, you'll find out that you're more relaxed. And the important thing about this is situations can go wrong. If you keep thinking about it, your mind will get more and more agitated, but you can liberate yourself from the pain and suffering, just getting into the body, staying in touch with present moment experience. The second part of it, instead of going back and just dropping the thought, I want you to really think about that thought. What wisdom can you learn from it? What is your mind trying to tell you? And I believe it's true when thoughts arise, even of hatred or anger, all the negative emotions, there's some wisdom in it. There's something bothering you. It lets you know that it's bothering you. And you need to address it. You need to do something constructive if you can do it. But too often, when you get triggered, there's reactivity. And instead of making things better, your reactivity can make it worse. Just like in the example I gave of my nose itching, being angry about it didn't stop the itch. It only made me feel bad. So let me go ahead and I'll lead you through the guided meditation. And again, it'll be two parts. One will be focus and relaxation, and the second will be insight. What I'd like you to do is find a comfortable position. And if you've meditated before, whatever it is, it can be cross-legged on the floor, could be lying on your back, it could be sitting in your chair. If you're sitting in a chair, which as a seniors group, most of us are doing, it might be helpful if your feet are flat on the floor, hands on your knees or thighs, and it might be helpful to gently close your eyes. What I'd like you to do now is breathe in and count to 3. Breathe out and count to 3. It's not necessarily a very deep breath, but breathe and count as you breathe in. And then slowly increase the count. But don't go beyond 10 and don't strain yourself. Breathing long, slow, and deep triggers the relaxation response. Counting takes the thinking mind away from rumination and negativity, brings it back to present moment experience. Eventually, your mind will wander. That's okay. When it wanders, just bring the focus of your attention back to your breath and your counting. Feet walk, minds wander. It's natural. And notice your attitude when your mind wanders. Can you be gentle, loving, and caring? Compassionate towards yourself, caring for yourself. Your mind just wandered. No big deal. Bring it back to your breath. And now, pick a point in your body where you feel your breath most vividly. It could be your navel as it rises and falls, or your chest as it rises and falls. Or it could be the nostrils, the inside of your nostrils, feeling the air flow in, feeling the air flow out. And if you're new to meditation, try focusing on each and every one of those and see where you feel the breath most vividly. Continue counting if you'd like, or if you don't want to count, stop. But if you can do both, do both. Notice how you feel. Do you feel a little bit more relaxed, calmer, more peaceful? It's possible to find equanimity and peace in spite of whatever situations you're facing. If you can get embodied, get grounded, just focus on your breath, breathe long, slow, and deep, and you'll cultivate a sense of well-being, peace, and contentment. Now we've completed the first half of focus meditation. And just a slight variation to turn this in to insight meditation. Continue to focus on your breath. And if you want to stop counting, stop counting. But continue to have a felt sense of the breath wherever you feel it most vividly. But now, when a thought arises, try and understand that thought. What message does that thought have for you? You may be anxious. Just be aware that you're anxious, and then go back and focus on the felt sense of the breath. You may have anger. Be aware of what you're angry about. You may want to look at it more closely. What do you think anger is causing you to do or stopping you from doing? Are your instincts helping you or hurting you? Bring your focus back to your breath. Now we're going to do a micro practice of gratitude. And it's one thing you can do whenever you're upset. Think about the things you're grateful for. What I'd like you to do now is smile. Keep repeating to yourself, thank you, thank you, thank you. And see what you are grateful for, what pops up into your mind. It could be friends or family. It could be your spiritual guide. It could be God, Jesus, Buddha. Keep repeating thankful, thankful, thankful. And now to notice how you feel after a gratitude micro practice. As you thought about all the things you're grateful for, again, it alters your attitude, alters your disposition. You can look at things in a different light, handle more difficult problems with an attitude of gratitude. And when you're ready, stretch out. When you're ready, open your eyes. Congratulate yourself on spending these 15, 20 minutes nurturing your body, relaxing, and calming.